Welcome to this explainer. Okay, if you're looking for the ultimate notes on decision analysis, specifically focusing on decision tables and decision trees, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're going to dive into exactly how managers take massive, overwhelming choices and turn them into crystal clear, data-backed decisions. If you've ever looked at a business problem and felt completely lost in a sea of variables, well, we've got you covered. So take a second and think about your own workflow. How do you tackle tough business choices when you're staring down multiple alternatives and, frankly, highly uncertain outcomes, right? Do you just go with a gut feeling, or do you actually have a framework? Because in complex organizations, just winging it with intuition really doesn't scale. Managers absolutely need a reliable, repeatable way to evaluate their options. And the answer to that? Decision analysis. This is kind of our foundational framework. It's basically a systematic approach used to evaluate different choices or alternatives and pick the best possible decision using cold, hard data, probabilities, and actual outcomes. Whether a manager is making a quick daily operational choice or orchestrating a massive strategic pivot, this is the exact system they use to map out the possibilities and find that optimal path forward.
All right, Section 1, Unpacking Decision Tables. Let's get right into these structured logical tools.
Think of a decision table as a highly structured toolbox for your data. It generally has four main parts, which we can see playing out in this real-world customer discount example. Up top, we have the conditions stub, listing all your possible inputs. So here, is the customer a member, and is their purchase over 1,000 rupees? Right next to that are the condition entries, which give us the actual values, like yes or no. Down below, we've got the actions stub, listing the possible outputs, maybe a 20% discount, a 10% discount, or no discount at all. And finally, the action entries use a simple X to mark exactly which action triggers for each specific combination. It literally maps out every single scenario. Now, depending on what kind of data you're dealing with, you'd usually use one of two types of tables. The first is a limited entry decision table. That's what we were just talking about, where conditions only have two possible values, yes or no, true or false. But if your business logic is a bit more nuanced, you'd want an extended entry decision table. In this setup, conditions can actually have multiple values. Think low, medium, or high. This lets you map out much more granular, complex business flows. So why do analysts absolutely love this tool? Well, tables give you this incredible superpower to visually spot redundancies and inconsistencies in your business rules. Software testers, for instance, are obsessed with these. It's basically their bug-squashing bread and butter because it forces you to consider literally every single case. I mean, it significantly reduces errors. That's exactly why you see it used so heavily in business rule modeling, decision support systems, and designing bulletproof test cases. But hey, nothing's perfect, right? Tables have their flaws. The moment you start adding more conditions, a table just grows exponentially. It can quickly turn into this massive, time-consuming monster that's honestly incredibly difficult to read. Plus, you might end up with a lot of redundant rules. But the real deal breaker? Decision tables are just not built for sequential logic. They give you a snapshot of all conditions at once, rather than mapping out a step-by-step process over time. Moving on to Section 2, Understanding Decision Trees. Let's look at some visual sequential choices. Let's break down the anatomy of this visual blueprint. You'll notice some pretty unique symbols here. The whole process kicks off at the root node. From there, you branch out to decision nodes. Those are the squares, which basically tell you, hey, a choice needs to be made here. Then you've got chance nodes, represented by circles, which show multiple uncertain outcomes. The lines linking it all together, those are the branches, indicating a specific action or path. And the whole thing wraps up at the endpoint nodes or leaf nodes. Those are the triangles, and they represent your final definitive outcome. Okay, let's see this in action with a real-world scenario. If we trace the branches to predict whether a customer will actually buy something, we start right at the top root node. Is their income over $50,000? If yes, we flow sequentially down that left branch to an internal decision node that asks, okay, is their age over 30? If that's a yes too, we check if they've made a previous purchase. You can clearly see how the whole thing flows hierarchically, step by step, right down to those final green leaf nodes representing the actual action, purchase or no purchase. The perks of using this structure are massive. First off, it's just so simple and visually intuitive. Honestly, it's the gold standard for laying out sequential decisions. And because of that step-by-step logic, it's ridiculously easy to convert this visual flow directly into computer algorithms or nested if-else programs. It's even a core part of machine learning classification models. Plus, it's a foundational tool in risk analysis. But, and there's always a but, trees definitely have their drawbacks too. While they are amazing at handling sequences, they don't explicitly show all possible combinations the way a strict table does. And if you're tackling a problem with, say, dozens of overlapping conditions, the tree can turn into this massive, tangled web that is an absolute nightmare to maintain. Because of that, people sometimes end up oversimplifying the tree just to make it fit nicely on a page, and that can really lead to some bad analysis. Which brings us to Section 3, the head-to-head comparison. Let's see how tables and trees actually stack up against each other. Looking at their structures side by side, it's pretty clear they operate in totally different ways. A decision table uses rows and columns to explicitly list every single condition together all at once. Now, that level of thoroughness means you might get some redundant rules. A decision tree, on the flip side, uses nodes and branches to break conditions down into a hierarchy, which naturally cuts down on redundancy. And when it's time to actually write software based on these, tables translate directly into straightforward I statements, while trees map out beautifully into nested I-else logic. So here's the ultimate takeaway. Which one you choose depends entirely on the specific problem you're trying to solve. You're going to want to use decision tables when you're dealing with really complex logical conditions that have a ton of overlapping combinations that all need to be tested at the exact same time. But you should absolutely lean on decision trees when your problem is fundamentally sequential and demands a clear step-by-step flow over time. At the end of the day, both of these tools are absolutely essential pillars of decision analysis. They take all that stressful guesswork and replace it with pure systematic logic. So here's my question for you. The next time you're facing a massive business challenge, which tool are you going to build your strategy on? Are you going to go with the exhaustive, bulletproof combinations of the table or the clear, chronological flow of the tree? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, here's to making your next big decision your absolute best one yet.